On a hot Tuesday afternoon in Austin, Texas, 8-year-old twins Zara and Kai Martinez made the hardest decision of their lives. They placed their most precious treasure, a red toy Tesla their dead father had given them, on a dirty sidewalk with a sign that read, "For sale, $20, please help." Their mama was dying, and they needed money for her medicine. What they didn't know was that the tall man walking down their street was Elon Musk, one of the richest people in the world. And what Elon didn't know was that these two brave children were about to lead him to a discovery that would change everything. Hidden in their apartment was their father's secret notebook, filled with drawings that could save millions of lives and create technology worth billions of dollars. But dangerous people wanted to steal it, and they were willing to hurt children to get it. As Elon watched the twins try to sell their beloved toy car, two questions would determine the fate of this family. Would these children's love be enough to unlock their father's greatest invention? And could one act of kindness on a sidewalk really change the world forever? The hot Texas sun beat down on the cracked sidewalk as 8-year-old Zara Martinez carefully placed her most precious treasure on an old towel. Her twin brother Kai sat beside her, his small hands shaking as he helped arrange the bright red, remote-controlled Tesla Model S that had been their world for 2 whole years. "Are you sure we have to do this?" Kai whispered, his brown eyes filling with tears. He was trying hard not to cry. Zara bit her lip and nodded, even though her heart felt like it was breaking into a million pieces. "Mama needs her medicine, Kai. Remember what she told Mrs. Garcia on the phone last night?" Kai remembered. They had both been hiding behind the kitchen door, listening to their mama cry into the phone. Rosa Martinez had been talking to the pharmacy, begging them to wait just 1 more week for payment. But the pharmacy lady had said no. No medicine meant Mama would get very sick. The twins looked down at their toy car. It wasn't just any toy car. This was the last gift their papa had given them before the terrible car accident that took him away forever. Carlos Martinez had worked extra hours for 3 months to buy this special remote-control Tesla for his twins' 6th birthday. "When you grow up," Papa had said, holding them both close, "you'll drive real cars that help save the world. But for now, you can practice with this one." Zara picked up the thick black marker and carefully wrote on a piece of cardboard, "Toy car for sale, $20. Please help." Her writing was a little wobbly because her hands were shaking, but she made sure every letter was clear. "Maybe nobody will want to buy it," Kai said hopefully. "Don't say that," Zara replied, trying to sound brave like Mama always told them to be. "We need someone to buy it. For Mama." They had counted all their piggy bank money that morning. $3.47. That wasn't enough for Mama's diabetes medicine. The pharmacy wanted $68, and Mama had been saving for weeks, but still didn't have enough. A few people walked by their apartment building, but nobody stopped. An old man with a dog smiled at them but kept walking. A lady with grocery bags looked at their sign but shook her head and hurried past. "What if nobody wants it?" Kai asked again, his voice getting smaller. Zara reached over and held her brother's hand. Even though they were twins, she had been born first, which made her the big sister by exactly 4 minutes. Mama always said Zara was the brave one, and Kai was the kind one, but right now, Zara didn't feel brave at all. "Someone will want it," she said firmly. Papa always said this was the best toy car in the whole world. They sat in silence for a while, watching cars drive by on the busy street. Their apartment building wasn't in the nicest part of Austin, but it was home. Mama worked 2 jobs to pay rent and buy food, but medicine was expensive and Lately, Mama had been getting sicker. Just last week, Zara had found Mama sitting on the bathroom floor, too dizzy to stand up. Mama had tried to smile and said she was just tired, but Zara knew it was more than that. She had heard Mama and Abuela talking in worried whispers about blood sugar and doctor visits. "Look," Kai said suddenly, pointing down the street. "Someone's coming." A tall man in jeans and a simple black t-shirt was walking toward them. He looked tired, like he had been thinking about something important. His hair was a little messy, and he walked slowly, as if he wasn't in any hurry to get anywhere. Zara's heart started beating faster. This could be their chance. The man noticed them when he was still half a block away. He saw two small children sitting on the sidewalk with something red between them. As he got closer, he could see the cardboard sign and the careful way the children had arranged their toy. When he reached them, he stopped. Up close, Zara could see that his eyes were kind but sad, like maybe he understood what it felt like to worry about people you love. "What are you selling?" he asked gently, crouching down so he was at their eye level. Zara took a deep breath. This was it. "Our toy Tesla," she said, her voice coming out smaller than she wanted. "We need money for our mama's medicine so she won't get sick." The man looked at the car more carefully. It was clearly well loved. The red paint had small scratches from countless adventures, and one of the doors didn't close perfectly anymore. But it was clean and cared for, and the remote control was wrapped neatly in plastic to keep it safe. "This looks like a very special car," the man said. "How long have you had it?" "Papa gave it to us for our 6th birthday," Kai said quietly. "Before he went to heaven." The man's expression changed. Something soft and painful crossed his face. "I'm sorry about your papa," he said. "It's okay," Zara said quickly, the way she always did when grown-ups looked sad about papa. "He's watching over us, but right now, Mama needs medicine, and we don't have enough money." "The pharmacy wants $68, Kai added. "We only have $3.47. The man was quiet for a moment, looking back and forth between the children and their precious toy car. "How much are you asking for the car?" $20, Zara whispered, even though saying it out loud made her stomach hurt. The man reached into his back pocket and pulled out his wallet. Zara held her breath. This was really happening. Someone was going to buy their car, and Mama would be able to get her medicine. But instead of taking the car, the man pulled out 5 $20 bills and held them out to Zara. "Keep your car," he said softly. "This is for your mama's medicine." Zara stared at the money. $100. More money than she had ever seen in her whole life. Enough for Mama's medicine, and maybe even some left over. "But mister," she said, her eyes wide with shock, "we can't take your money for nothing. That's not how selling works." Kai nodded seriously. "Papa taught us that if someone gives you money, you have to give them something back. That's being fair." The man smiled, and for the first time since he had stopped to talk to them, he looked happy instead of sad. "You're not taking it for nothing," he said. "You're teaching me something very important about love, about how much you love your mama, and how much your papa loved you. But..." Zara started to protest. "No buts," the man said, pressing the money into her small hands. "Sometimes people help each other just because it's the right thing to do. Your papa would be very proud of what you were willing to do for your mama." Tears started running down Zara's cheeks, but they were happy tears mixed with sad tears. Happy because Mama would be okay. Sad because she couldn't believe someone could be so kind to 2 kids they didn't even know. "What's your name, mister?" Kai asked. The man hesitated for just a moment. "You can call me Mr. E," he said finally. "Thank you, Mr. E," Zara said, carefully folding the money and putting it in her pocket. "You're the nicest person in the whole world." "No," the man said, standing up and looking down at them with eyes that were definitely wet with tears. "You two are the nicest people in the whole world." As he started to walk away, Zara called after him, "Mr. E, will we ever see you again?" The man turned back and smiled. "I have a feeling we will," he said. After he disappeared around the corner, the twins sat in amazed silence, their toy car still safely between them and $100 in Zara's pocket. "Kai," Zara said finally, "I think Papa sent him to us." "Do you really think so?" Kai asked. Zara nodded, holding their red Tesla car close to her chest. "Papa promised he would always take care of us. Maybe this is how." They didn't notice the black car that had been following Mr. E down the street, or the way it slowed down as it passed their apartment building. They didn't see the man inside taking pictures with his phone, or the way he wrote down their address in a small notebook. All they knew was that Mama was going to be okay. They still had Papa's car, and sometimes angels came disguised as regular people walking down the street. But as they packed up their towel and headed inside to surprise Mama with the wonderful news, neither of them could have imagined that their simple act of love had just set in motion events that would change not only their lives, but the lives of thousands of people around the world. The black car made one more slow pass by their building before disappearing into the Austin traffic, leaving behind only the faint smell of danger that the children were still too young to recognize. Rosa Martinez pushed through the glass doors of Murphy's Diner at exactly 11:15 p.m., her feet aching from another long shift waiting tables. Her second job cleaning offices didn't start until midnight, which gave her just enough time to check on Zara and Kai before heading across town. The apartment building was quiet as she climbed the stairs to their second-floor home. Mrs. Garcia from next door had been watching the twins, but Rosa always felt guilty asking for help. Everyone in their building worked hard just to get by. She turned her key in the lock as quietly as possible, hoping the children were already asleep. But as she stepped inside, she found both twins sitting on the small couch, wide awake and practically bouncing with excitement. "Mama!" Zara jumped up and ran to her. "We have the best news ever!" Rosa's heart skipped. In her experience, when 8-year-olds had the best news ever, it usually meant trouble. "What's wrong? Mrs. Garcia said you were good today." "Nothing's wrong, Mama," Kai said, climbing down from the couch. "Everything's right." Zara pulled the carefully folded $20 bills from her pocket. Rosa stared at the money, her tired mind trying to understand what she was seeing. "Mijos, where did you get this money?" Her voice came out sharper than she meant it to. "Did you take this from someone?" "No, Mama," Zara said quickly. "We sold Papa's toy car to help you." Rosa's blood went cold. She looked around the small living room and saw the red Tesla sitting safely on the coffee table. "But the car is still here." "That's the amazing part," Kai explained, his words tumbling over each other in excitement. "We tried to sell it to buy your medicine, but this really nice man gave us the money and told us to keep Papa's car." "A man?" Rosa sat down heavily on the couch, pulling both children close to her. "What man? What did he look like?" Zara and Kai took turns describing Mr. E. Tall, kind eyes, sad smile, messy hair. Rosa listened with growing worry. She had taught her children never to take money from strangers, and now they had accepted $100 from someone they didn't know. "Mama, we know what you're thinking," Zara said, seeing the fear in her mother's eyes. But he wasn't a bad man. He was like an angel, Papa, sent to help us. Angels don't give children money on the street, Rosa said firmly. This is dangerous, mijos. You must never, ever take money from strangers again. Do you understand me? Both children nodded, but Rosa could see they didn't really understand why she was upset when they were trying to help. We're going to return this money tomorrow, Rosa continued. If you see this man again, you tell me immediately. But Mama, Kai said quietly, what about your medicine? Rosa's heart broke a little more. Her sweet children had been trying to take care of her, and she was scolding them for it. But she knew things they didn't know, dangers they couldn't imagine. Don't worry about Mama's medicine, she said, forcing a smile. I'll figure something out. After tucking the twins into their shared bedroom, Rosa sat at her small kitchen table and stared at the money. $100 would buy her diabetes medicine and still leave enough for groceries. But accepting money from a stranger felt wrong and dangerous. What Rosa didn't tell her children was that diabetes medicine was the least of her worries. 6 months ago, during a routine checkup, Dr. Chen had called her back for more tests. Then, more tests. Finally, he had sat her down in his small office and used words that Rosa still heard in her nightmares. Rare genetic condition. Degenerative. 2 years, maybe less. Rosa had made Dr. Chen promise not to put the diagnosis in any records that insurance companies could see. She couldn't afford to lose her jobs or her health coverage, and she definitely couldn't afford to have her children taken away because people thought she couldn't care for them. Every night for 6 months, Rosa had been fighting 2 battles. The first was against her own body, which was slowly betraying her. The second was against time itself, trying to figure out how to protect Zara and Kai when she was gone. She had no family left except for an elderly aunt in Mexico who was too old to care for 2 young children. Carlos had been an only child, and his parents had died before the twins were born. If something happened to Rosa, her children would become wards of the state. Rosa opened the small notebook where she kept her most important thoughts and began to write. October 15th. The twins tried to sell Carlos's car today to buy my medicine. A stranger gave them $100 and told them to keep the car. I'm scared. What if this man wants something? But what if he's someone who could help my children? When I'm gone, Carlos, if you're watching over us, please give me a sign about what to do. She closed the notebook and walked to the bedroom closet. Behind her winter coats, hidden in an old shoebox, was Carlos's leather work notebook. She had never opened it because looking at his handwriting made her cry, but she knew it contained his engineering drawings and ideas from his job at the battery company. Rosa pulled out the notebook and held it against her chest. Carlos had been working on something important before he died, staying up late at night, filling page after page with complicated diagrams and calculations. He had been excited about a breakthrough, but he died before he could finish whatever he was working on. What were you trying to tell me, mi amor? She whispered to the notebook. What were you working on that was so important? A sound from the street made her look out the window. A black car was parked across from their building, its engine running. Rosa watched for several minutes, but the car didn't move, and she couldn't see anyone inside. Finally, the car pulled away, but something about it felt wrong. Rosa made a mental note to talk to Mrs. Garcia tomorrow about keeping an extra eye on the twins. She hid Carlos's notebook back in the closet and returned to the kitchen table. The $100 still lay there, tempting and terrifying at the same time. Rosa knew her children needed stability and security, things she might not be able to give them much longer. If this stranger really was someone who could help them, maybe she was being foolish to push him away. But if he was dangerous? She thought about Zara's description of the man. Kind eyes, sad smile. Someone who understood about love and loss. Despite her fears, something in her heart whispered that maybe, just maybe, her children had been right. Maybe Carlos had sent them an angel after all. Rosa carefully folded the money and put it in her purse. Tomorrow, she would buy her medicine, but she would also try to find out more about the mysterious Mr. E. If he really wanted to help her children, she needed to know who he was and what he wanted. As she finally got ready for her midnight cleaning job, Rosa didn't notice that the black car had returned and was now parked in the shadows behind the building. She didn't see the man inside making notes in a small book, or the way he took pictures of their apartment windows with a camera that had a very long lens. All Rosa knew was that for the first time in months, her children had gone to bed happy and hopeful. And maybe, if she was very careful and very lucky, that hope might be enough to carry them through whatever came next. But as she locked the apartment door behind her and headed into the dark Austin night, Rosa couldn't shake the feeling that their lives had just become much more complicated than selling a toy car for medicine money. Elon Musk sat in his Tesla Model S outside the Gigafactory, staring at his phone, but not really seeing it. It was 2:30 in the morning and he should have been heading home, but he couldn't stop thinking about two small children sitting on a sidewalk, willing to sell their most precious possession to save their mother. He had met thousands of people in his life. Inventors, world leaders, celebrities, billionaires. But something about Zara and Kai Martinez had touched a part of his heart that he thought had grown too thick with success and failure to feel this deeply anymore. "Sarah," he said into his phone, calling his personal assistant, even though it was the middle of the night. "I need you to research a family for me. The Martinez family in Austin, Rosa Martinez, and her 8-year-old twins, Zara and Kai." "Mr. Musk, it's almost 3 a.m., Sarah's sleepy voice replied. "I know, but this is important. I need to know everything. Medical records, financial situation, family background. And Sarah, be very careful about this. Don't let anyone else know what you're looking for." "Of course, sir. Is everything okay?" Elon was quiet for a moment. "I met some people today who reminded me why I started all this in the first place." 3 hours later, Sarah called back with information that made Elon's blood run cold. "Mr. Musk, I found some concerning things. Rosa Martinez works 2 jobs, but still struggles financially. Her husband Carlos died in a car accident 2 years ago. But here's what's interesting. Carlos Martinez wasn't just any engineer. He worked for Advanced Battery Solutions, and according to patent filings, he submitted several applications for revolutionary battery technology just 3 weeks before he died." Elon sat up straighter. "What kind of battery technology?" "The applications were never processed because no one followed up after his death. But from what I can see, he was working on something involving lithium metal batteries with unprecedented energy density. The preliminary notes suggest charge times under 10 minutes and range capabilities of over 1,000 miles. "That's impossible," Elon whispered. "We've been trying to achieve those numbers for years." "There's more, sir. Rosa Martinez has been in and out of hospitals recently. I couldn't get her complete medical records, but the insurance claims suggest she's dealing with something serious. Much more serious than the diabetes medication her children were trying to buy." Elon felt his heart sink. Those brave little children were facing even more than he had realized. "And Mr. Musk? There's something else. A company called Hayes Industries has been making inquiries about Carlos Martinez's patents. They've filed legal challenges claiming the technology belongs to them. Hayes Industries? Elon knew that name. Vincent Hayes was a ruthless businessman who built his company by buying up patents from desperate inventors or taking credit for other people's work. What's their connection to Carlos Martinez? Hayes claims Carlos worked for them briefly 5 years ago, and that any innovations he made belonged to them. But the dates don't match up, and Carlos was working for Advanced Battery Solutions when he developed this technology. Elon ended the call and immediately made another one. "Marcus, I need you to put together a legal team. Someone is trying to steal technology from a dead man's family, and I'm not going to let that happen." As the sun rose over Austin, Elon drove back toward the Martinez family's neighborhood. He needed to see Rosa Martinez and tell her what he had discovered. But more than that, he needed to understand what Carlos had been working on. If Carlos Martinez had really solved the battery problem that had been stumping Tesla's best engineers, it could change everything. Electric cars that could drive from New York to Los Angeles on a single charge would make gas cars obsolete overnight. But more importantly, it could secure the future for 2 children who had already lost too much. Elon parked across the street from their apartment building and waited. At 7:30 a.m., he saw Rosa Martinez walking home from her night shift, looking tired but determined. She climbed the stairs to her apartment, and 10 minutes later, he could hear children's voices through the thin walls. Happy voices, probably, telling their mother about their adventure the day before. He was about to get out of his car when another vehicle caught his attention. A black sedan was parked half a block away, and there was definitely someone inside watching the Martinez building. Elon's instincts, sharpened by years of dealing with corporate espionage and competitors trying to steal his ideas, immediately went on high alert. He took out his phone and zoomed in on the license plate, then sent the number to his security team. The response came back within minutes. Vehicle registered to Hayes Industries. Driver is Marcus Webb, former private investigator, currently employed as corporate security. "Son of a bitch," Elon muttered. Hayes wasn't just trying to steal Carlos's patents through legal channels. He was watching the family. Elon called his head of security. "James, I need protection for a family in Austin, immediately. And I need to know everything about Vincent Hayes's current activities." "What's the situation, boss?" "Hayes Industries is stalking a widow and her 8-year-old children. I think they're after something the husband left behind." As Elon watched, the black car's engine started. Rosa Martinez had come back outside, probably heading to her day job. The sedan began to follow her slowly down the street. Elon made a decision that would change everything. He started his own car and began following the sedan that was following. Rosa. If Hayes wanted to play games with a grieving family, he was about to discover that Elon Musk played those games better than anyone. But as Elon trailed the black car through Austin traffic, he didn't notice the second vehicle that had been watching him. Hayes Industries wasn't just interested in the Martinez family anymore. They had realized that Elon Musk was involved, and that changed everything. Vincent Hayes himself was now in Austin, and he was planning something much more dangerous than just legal challenges and surveillance. In his downtown hotel room, Hayes studied photographs of the Martinez family and detailed blueprints of their apartment building. On his desk were copies of Carlos Martinez's preliminary patent applications and a thick file marked Musk Countermeasures. "If Elon Musk thinks he can protect this family and steal my technology," Hayes said to his assistant, "he's about to learn that some battles are worth fighting dirty." Hayes picked up his phone and made a call. "It's time to move to Phase 2. Yes, I know it's risky, but we're not just talking about battery patents anymore. We're talking about the future of energy itself. And I'm not going to let some dead Engineer's family and a billionaire with a hero complex stand in my way. As Rosa Martinez walked to her day job, completely unaware that she was being followed by people who wanted to destroy her family's future, Elon Musk was making his own plans. He had built companies that sent rockets to space and created cars that drove themselves. Protecting 2 children and their mother should be easy, but Vincent Hayes had built his fortune by being more ruthless than his competitors ever expected. And he was about to prove that when billions of dollars were at stake, there were no rules. The quiet street where Zara and Kai had sold their toy car was about to become the center of a battle that would determine not just the fate of one family, but the future of transportation technology around the world. 2 days later, Elon Musk walked down the familiar street, where he had first met Zara and Kai. It was 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, and he knew the children would be at school while Rosa was at her day job at the medical supply company. He wanted to check on the apartment building, make sure his security team was keeping a proper watch on the family. What he didn't expect was to find a man in a dark suit crouched by the Martinez family's front door, working something metal into the lock. "Excuse me," Elon called out firmly, pulling out his phone. "What exactly are you doing?" The man jumped and spun around. He was tall and thin with cold gray eyes that reminded Elon of a snake. For just a second, panic flashed across his face before he forced a fake smile. "Oh, hello there," the man said, standing up and brushing off his pants. "I'm with building maintenance. Mrs. Martinez called about a problem with her lock." Elon looked at the man's expensive suit, his shiny leather shoes, and the professional, lock-picking tools in his hands. "Funny, you don't look like a maintenance worker, and I'm pretty sure Mrs. Martinez is at work right now." The man's fake smile disappeared. "Look, buddy, this doesn't concern you. Why don't you just keep walking?" "I don't think so." Elon stepped closer, and even though the other man was taller, something in Elon's voice made him take a step back. "I think you better tell me who you really are and what you're doing trying to break into that apartment." "I said this doesn't concern you," the man repeated, but his voice was getting nervous now. "Actually, it concerns me very much, especially since I know you work for Vincent Hayes." The man's eyes went wide. "How do you—" "Marcus Webb, right? Former private investigator, currently employed as corporate security for Hayes Industries. You've been watching this family for days." Webb's hand moved toward his jacket, but Elon was already dialing 911. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," Elon said calmly. "I've got 3 security cameras recording this conversation, and the police are on their way." Webb looked around frantically and spotted the small cameras that Elon's team had installed on nearby buildings. He was trapped, and he knew it. "You don't understand," Webb said desperately. "That family has something that doesn't belong to them. Mr. Hayes has every right to—" "Mr. Hayes has the right to exactly nothing," Elon interrupted. "Carlos Martinez developed that technology while working for Advanced Battery Solutions, not Hayes Industries. Any patents belong to his family." "How do you know about the patents?" Webb demanded. "Because unlike your boss, I actually do my research before I start breaking into people's homes." The sound of sirens filled the air. Webb looked around like a cornered animal, then pulled out his phone and made a quick call. "It's blown," he said into the phone. "Musk is here. He knows everything." He listened for a moment. Then his face went dark. "Yes, sir. I understand." Webb hung up and turned back to Elon with a look that was pure hatred. "This isn't over, Musk. That family has something worth billions, and Mr. Hayes doesn't give up easily. If you think you can play hero and protect them, you're about to learn how the real world works." "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise. Stay out of our way, or you'll regret it." 2 Austin police cars pulled up to the curb. Webb saw them coming and made one last attempt to run, but Elon's security team had been watching from nearby buildings. Two men in dark suits appeared from different directions, blocking Webb's escape routes. "Officers," Elon called to the policemen as they got out of their cars, "this man was attempting to break into apartment 2B. I have video evidence and witness testimony." The arrest took less than 10 minutes, but Elon knew this was just the beginning. Hayes had escalated from watching to breaking and entering. What would he try next? Elon was still standing outside the apartment building when Rosa Martinez's old Honda pulled into the parking lot. She got out of the car, looking tired from her shift. But when she saw the police cars and a man in handcuffs being put into the back of a patrol car, her face went white with fear. "What's happening?" she asked, running toward the building. "Are my children okay?" "Your children are fine," Elon said quickly. "They're still at school. But Mrs. Martinez, we need to talk." Rosa stared at him, recognition dawning in her eyes. "You're the man who helped my children, Mr. E." "Actually," Elon said, "my name is Elon Musk, and I think you and your family are in serious danger." Rosa's legs went weak, and she sat down heavily on the steps of her building. "Elon Musk? The Tesla man?" "Among other things, yes. Mrs. Martinez, someone just tried to break into your apartment. I believe they were looking for something your husband left behind." "Carlos?" Rosa's voice was barely a whisper. "But he's been dead for 2 years. What could anyone want with his things?" Elon sat down beside her on the steps. "Your husband was working on battery technology that could change the world. Someone named Vincent Hayes is trying to steal it, and he's willing to break the law to get it." Rosa buried her face in her hands. "I don't understand any of this. Carlos was just an engineer. He drew pictures of batteries and circuits. Why would anyone care about that now? Because those drawings might be worth billions of dollars, Mrs. Martinez. And more importantly, they could help millions of people. But Hayes wants to steal them and claim he invented the technology himself." "I need to call my children's school," Rosa said suddenly, panic rising in her voice. "If these people are watching us, if they tried to break in—" "I've already arranged for security at their school," Elon said gently. "Your children are safe. But Mrs. Martinez, I need to ask you something important. Do you still have your husband's work notebooks?" Rosa looked at him with tears in her eyes. "Why should I trust you? How do I know you're not just like this Hayes person, trying to steal from my family?" It was a fair question, and Elon understood her fear. "Because, Mrs. Martinez, if I wanted to steal from you, I wouldn't have given your children money and told them to keep their toy car. I would have just taken what I wanted." Rosa was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Finally, she spoke. "Carlos did keep notebooks, lots of them. I never looked at them because seeing his handwriting made me too sad. Would you be willing to let me look at them? Not to take them, but to understand what Hayes is after? If I know what he wants, I can better protect your family." Before Rosa could answer, her phone rang. It was the twins' school. "Mrs. Martinez? This is Principal Johnson. Your children are fine, but there was an incident today. A man came to the school claiming to be their uncle, asking to pick them up early. When we couldn't verify his identity and asked him to wait while we called you, he left quickly." Rosa's hands started shaking. What did this man look like? Tall, well-dressed gray eyes. He seemed very interested in asking the children questions about their father. Rosa hung up and turned to Elon with terror in her eyes. "They went after my babies." "They're safe," Elon assured her. "But Mrs. Martinez, this is escalating quickly. Hayes isn't just after your husband's notebooks anymore. He's willing to target your children to get what he wants. Rosa stood up, and when she looked at Elon, her fear had transformed into fierce determination. Mr. Musk, if these people think they can threaten my children, they're about to learn that they messed with the wrong mother. She pulled out her keys and headed toward the building entrance. Come on, let's go look at Carlos's notebooks. If my husband really invented something that important, then maybe it's time the world knew about it. As they climbed the stairs to the second floor, neither of them noticed the small device that Marcus Webb had managed to plant near the mailboxes before Elon caught him. Hayes Industries was no longer just watching the Martinez family. Now they were listening to every word. Rosa's hands trembled as she unlocked her apartment door. Everything looked normal. The small couch where her twins watched cartoons, the kitchen table where they did homework, the toy Tesla still sitting proudly on the coffee table. But knowing that someone had tried to break in made her feel like her safe haven had been violated. The notebooks are in my bedroom closet, Rosa said quietly, leading Elon through the small apartment. I haven't touched them since Carlos died. She opened the closet door and moved aside winter coats that hadn't been worn in Texas heat for months. Behind them was an old shoebox, held closed with a rubber band that had lost most of its stretch. Here, Rosa said, handing the box to Elon. I hope whatever's in there is worth all this trouble. Elon carried the box to the kitchen table and carefully removed the rubber band. Inside were 3 leather notebooks, each one filled with Carlos Martinez's careful handwriting and detailed drawings. As Elon opened the first notebook, he immediately knew they had found something extraordinary. Mrs. Martinez, Elon said, his voice filled with amazement. Your husband wasn't just an engineer. He was a genius. The pages were covered with battery designs unlike anything Elon had ever seen. Carlos had drawn detailed diagrams of lithium metal batteries with revolutionary cathode structures. His calculations showed charge times of less than 8 minutes and energy density that could power a car for over 1,000 miles. Look at this, Elon said, pointing to a page covered with chemical formulas. He solved the dendrite problem that's been stopping lithium metal batteries for decades. This is impossible, but it's all here. Rosa sat down beside him, looking at her husband's familiar handwriting through new eyes. Carlos used to stay up all night working on these drawings. He said he was trying to solve something important, but I never understood what. Elon turned the page and found something even more incredible. Carlos hadn't just been working on car batteries. He had been designing medical applications for his technology, portable power sources for medical devices, emergency backup systems for hospitals, and something else that made Elon's heart stop. Mrs. Martinez, look at this section, Elon said, pointing to a series of drawings labeled Project Hope. Your husband was working on a portable medical device powered by his battery technology. According to his notes, it was designed to help people with genetic conditions. Rosa leaned closer to read Carlos's writing. In the margin of one page, she found a note that brought tears to her eyes. For my Rosa and my babies, may this help families like ours someday. He knew, Rosa whispered. Somehow, Carlos knew about my condition before I did. What condition? Elon asked gently. Rosa was quiet for a long moment, fighting with herself about whether to tell this man her deepest secret. Finally, she spoke. 6 months ago, I was diagnosed with a rare genetic condition. It's degenerative. The doctors say I have maybe 2 years left. Elon felt his heart break for this brave woman and her children. Mrs. Martinez, I'm so sorry, but look at what your husband wrote here. He pointed to another page where Carlos had written detailed notes about gene therapy applications for his battery technology. The margins were filled with hopeful comments. Portable gene therapy delivery system. Emergency medical power source. Hope for genetic conditions. Your husband was trying to find a way to help you, Elon said softly. Even before you knew, you were sick. He was working on something that might save you. Rosa started crying, but they were tears of amazement mixed with grief. Carlos always said he wanted to change the world. I thought he meant cars and technology. I didn't know he meant families like yours, Elon finished. Mrs. Martinez, this technology isn't just worth billions of dollars. It could save thousands of lives. Just then, Rosa's phone rang. It was the twins' school again. Mrs. Martinez, I need you to come pick up your children immediately, Principal Johnson said, her voice tight with worry. Kai collapsed during recess. The paramedics are here, and they want to take him to the hospital. The notebook fell from Rosa's hands as she grabbed her purse. I have to go. My son. I'll drive you, Elon said immediately. We'll take my car. They rushed to the school, leaving Carlos's notebooks scattered on the kitchen table. Neither of them thought about the listening device that had been recording every word of their conversation. At Austin Elementary School, they found Kai sitting in the nurse's office, pale and confused. Zara was holding his hand, her face streaked with tears. Mama! Zara ran to Rosa. Kai just fell down during kickball. He said his head hurt, and then he couldn't stand up. The paramedic, a kind woman named Sarah, explained what had happened. Mrs. Martinez, your son's blood pressure is very low, and he's showing signs of dehydration that seem unusual for a healthy 8-year-old. We'd like to take him to Austin Children's Hospital for some tests. Rosa's face went white. She knew what this might mean, but she had prayed it would never happen. At the hospital, Dr. Patel ran test after test on Kai, while Rosa, Zara, and Elon waited in the small family room. After 3 hours, the doctor came back with results that confirmed Rosa's worst fears. Mrs. Martinez, I need to speak with you privately, Dr. Patel said. Whatever you have to say, you can say in front of Mr. Musk, Rosa replied. He's helping our family. Dr. Patel looked uncomfortable. Your son has markers for a rare genetic condition called Barros-Martinez syndrome. It's extremely rare, affecting maybe 1 in 10 million people. The symptoms include episodes of weakness, cardiovascular problems, and progressive muscle deterioration. Rosa closed her eyes. The condition was named Barros-Martinez because the first cases had been identified in families with those surnames. She had been tested for it after her own diagnosis, and the results had shown she was a carrier. Both her children had a 50% chance of developing the condition. Is there treatment? Elon asked. Currently, no. We can manage symptoms, but there's no cure. Most patients... Dr. Patel hesitated. Most patients don't live past their teens. Zara looked back and forth between her mother and the doctor, not understanding the medical terms, but recognizing the fear in Rosa's eyes. Is Kai going to be okay? Zara asked in a small voice. Rosa pulled her daughter close, trying to be strong even though her world was falling apart. We're going to take very good care of Kai, she said, and we're going to find a way to help him get better. But privately, Rosa felt like her heart was breaking into a million pieces. First Carlos, then her own diagnosis, and now Kai. How much loss could one family endure? Elon put his hand on Rosa's shoulder. Mrs. Martinez, remember what we found in Carlos's notebooks. He was working on something that might help genetic conditions. Maybe there's hope after all. But the notebooks are just drawings, Rosa said through her tears. Even if Carlos found something amazing, he's gone. Who's going to build it? Who's going to make it real? Elon looked at this brave woman, who had already lost so much, and was facing the possibility of losing even more. He thought about Zara and Kai, two children who had been willing to sell their most precious possession to help their mother. He thought about Carlos, an engineer who had died before he could finish his work to save his family. "I am," Elon said, quietly. "Mrs. Martinez, I promise you, we're going to finish what your husband started, and we're going to find a way to help Kai get better." As they sat in the hospital waiting room, none of them knew that Vincent Hayes had been listening to every word through the device his man had planted. Hayes now knew not just about the battery technology, but also about the family's medical crisis. And Vincent Hayes was the kind of man who saw other people's desperation as an opportunity. His assistant knocked on his hotel room door. "Sir, we recorded everything. The notebooks contain even more than we thought. But there's something else. The family has a genetic condition. The mother is dying, and now the boy is sick too." Hayes smiled coldly. "Perfect. Desperate people make bad decisions. It's time to make the Martinez family an offer they can't refuse." 3 days after Kai's diagnosis, Rosa sat beside his hospital bed, watching her son sleep. The doctors had run more tests and started him on medications that might slow down the progression of his condition. But everyone knew it was just buying time. Zara had hardly left her brother's side, reading him stories and making sure his favorite stuffed elephant was always within reach. Rosa's heart broke watching her daughter try to be brave while her whole world was falling apart. "Mama," Zara whispered, "is Kai going to go to heaven like Papa did?" Rosa pulled her daughter close. "We're going to do everything we can to make sure Kai stays with us for a very long time." But Rosa didn't know how she was going to keep that promise. The medical bills were already piling up, and her insurance would only cover so much. Worse, her own condition was getting worse. Some mornings she could barely get out of bed, and she was running out of time to figure out what would happen to her children. That's when Vincent Hayes walked into the hospital room. He was tall and well-dressed, with silver hair and cold gray, eyes that reminded Rosa of a shark. He carried an expensive briefcase and wore a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Mrs. Martinez? My name is Vincent Hayes. I'm here to help your family." Rosa immediately felt uncomfortable. "I'm sorry, but visiting hours are almost over, and I don't know who you are." "I'm a businessman, Mrs. Martinez, and I believe your late husband created something that could be very valuable to both of us." Hayes pulled up a chair without being invited to sit down. "I understand your family is facing some difficult medical challenges. How do you know about our medical situation?" Rosa asked, her voice sharp with suspicion. Hayes waved his hand dismissively. "Word gets around in a small community. The important thing is that I'm here to offer you a solution to all your problems." He opened his briefcase and pulled out a legal document. "Mrs. Martinez, I'm prepared to offer you $5 million for your husband's battery technology patents." Rosa stared at the number on the paper. $5 million. More money than she had ever imagined. Enough to pay for the best medical care for Kai, enough to secure Zara's future, enough to stop worrying about rent and medicine and food. $5 million, she whispered, in cash. Today, all you have to do is sign over the rights to your husband's work, and your family's financial worries are over forever. Rosa looked at Kai sleeping in his hospital bed, then at Zara, who was listening to every word with wide, hopeful eyes. "Mama," Zara said quietly, "if we have that much money, we can make Kai better, right?" Hayes smiled at the little girl. "That's right, sweetheart. Your mama can buy the best doctors in the world." But something about the man's smile made Rosa feel sick to her stomach. "I need time to think about this." "Of course," Hayes said, standing up. "But Mrs. Martinez, I should mention that this offer has an expiration date. My company has other opportunities to pursue, and we can't wait indefinitely." "How long do I have?" 24 hours. After that, I'm afraid the offer will be withdrawn permanently." After Hayes left, Rosa sat staring at the legal papers. $5 million could change everything for her family. But something felt wrong about the whole situation. That evening, Elon arrived with flowers for Kai and a new book for Zara. He took one look at Rosa's face and knew something had happened. "What's wrong?" he asked. Rosa told him about Hayes's visit and the $5 million offer. Elon listened carefully, his expression growing darker with each detail. "Mrs. Martinez, you can't sign that document," Elon said firmly. "Why not? It's more money than my family will ever see otherwise." "Because Vincent Hayes isn't trying to help you. He's trying to steal technology that could be worth hundreds of billions of dollars. And more importantly, if he gets control of your husband's work, he'll make sure it never gets developed into the medical treatments that could save Kai." Rosa felt her heart sink. "What do you mean?" "Hayes builds his fortune by buying up patents and then sitting on them. He doesn't develop new technology. He prevents other people from developing it. If you give him Carlos's work, he'll lock it away in a vault somewhere and make sure nobody else can ever use it. But $5 million could pay for Kai's treatment." "What?" "Treatment, Mrs. Martinez. You heard what the doctor said. There is no treatment for Kai's condition, not yet. But there could be, if we can finish what Carlos started." Elon sat down beside Rosa and spoke gently. "I know this is an impossible choice. I know you're scared and desperate and running out of time. But I'm asking you to trust me. Give me 6 months to build Carlos's designs. Let me try to create the rule. Medical technology that could actually save Kai's life. And if it doesn't work, if we run out of time, then I'll personally make sure your family has everything you need. Medical care, education for Zara, a secure future. You have my word." Rosa looked at her son, so small and fragile in the hospital bed. Then she looked at Zara, who was listening to every word with the serious expression of a child who had been forced to grow up too fast. "What do you think, Mija?" Rosa asked her daughter. "Should we trust Mr. Musk?" Zara was quiet for a long moment, thinking hard. Finally, she spoke in a voice much older than her 8 years. "Mama, Papa always said that the right choice and the easy choice are usually different things. Taking the money feels like the easy choice. And what feels like the right choice? Letting Mr. Musk try to build Papa's inventions, because maybe Papa knew this would happen. Maybe he left those drawings so someone could help Kai get better." Rosa felt tears running down her cheeks. Her 8-year-old daughter was wiser than most adults. "Mr. Musk," Rosa said finally, "if I trust you with my husband's work, what guarantee do I have that you won't just steal it like Hayes wants to?" Elon thought carefully before answering. "Mrs. Martinez, I can't give you guarantees about the technology working. Medical research is complicated and uncertain. But I can promise you this: if we succeed, if we create treatments that help people, like Kai, your family will share in every success, not just financially, but as partners in making sure this technology reaches everyone who needs it. And if Hayes comes back, then he'll have to go through me first." Just then, Kai stirred in his hospital bed. His eyes opened slowly, and he looked around the room with confusion. "Mama, why is everyone so serious?" Rosa went to his bedside and took his hand. "We're just talking about some important decisions, baby." "Are you going to let Mr. Musk help us?" Kai asked. "What makes you think Mr. Musk wants to help us?" Kai smiled weakly. "Because he's the one who let us keep Papa's car. Good people don't take things away from kids. They help kids keep the things that matter." Rosa looked at this man who had walked into their lives 3 days ago and turned everything upside down. Everything logical told her to take Hayes's money and secure her children's immediate future, but everything in her heart told her that Kai was right. "Mr. Musk," she said, "I'm going to trust you with my husband's life's work, but I need you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me that if something happens to me, you won't abandon my children. They've already lost their father. I can't bear the thought of them facing this world alone." Elon looked at Zara, who was trying so hard to be brave, and at Kai, who was fighting a battle no 8-year-old should have to fight. He thought about his own children and how he would want someone to care for them if he were gone. "Mrs. Martinez, I promise you that your children will never be alone. If something happens to you, I will make sure they have everything they need: love, support, education, and a secure future. They will always be part of my family." Rosa nodded and reached for her phone. "Then I am calling Mr. Hayes to decline his offer." As she dialed the number, none of them realized that Vincent Hayes was already planning for her refusal. He had never expected her to accept his first offer. It was just the opening move in a much more dangerous game. And his next move would put the entire Martinez family in immediate physical danger. Vincent Hayes didn't wait for Rosa's phone call. He already knew what her answer would be, and he had prepared for it. At 9 p.m. that evening, as visiting hours ended at Austin Children's Hospital, Hayes walked through the front doors with 2 large men in expensive suits. Rosa was gathering her things to leave when she noticed security guards talking nervously near the nurse's station. Something was wrong, but she couldn't tell what. "Mrs. Martinez," a familiar cold voice said behind her. Rosa spun around to find Vincent Hayes standing in the doorway of Kai's room. Behind him were 2 men who looked more like bodyguards than businessmen. "Mr. Hayes, visiting hours are over. You need to leave." "I'm afraid I can't do that, Mrs. Martinez. You see, I just received some very disappointing news. My sources tell me you're planning to reject my generous offer." Rosa stepped protectively in front of Kai's bed, where both her children were now wide awake and frightened. "That's right. We're not interested in your money." Hayes smiled, but it was the kind of smile that made Rosa's blood run cold. "That's unfortunate because I wasn't really asking. Your husband's technology belongs to my company, and I'm prepared to take it with or without your cooperation." "You have no legal right to Carlos's work," Rosa said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Legal rights are complicated things, Mrs. Martinez, especially when families are facing such tragic circumstances." Hayes nodded toward Kai. "Sick children are expensive. Medical bills can be overwhelming. Sometimes families make desperate choices." One of Hayes's men stepped forward. "Mr. Hayes, should we escort the family out?" "Mama," Zara whispered, grabbing Rosa's hand. "I'm scared." Rosa felt anger rising in her chest. This man was threatening her children in a hospital room. "You need to leave right now, or I'm calling security." "Actually," Hayes said, pulling out his phone, "I think you'll find that security is currently dealing with an emergency in the parking garage. A small fire. Nothing serious. but it's keeping them very busy. Rosa realized with growing horror that Hayes had planned this. He had created a distraction to isolate her family. "What do you want?" she asked. "It's very simple. You're going to sign over the rights to your husband's patents, and in return, your family stays safe and healthy. And if I refuse?" Hayes looked directly at Kai, who was trying to hide behind his stuffed elephant. "Well, let's just say that children with genetic conditions are very fragile. Accidents happen. Medical equipment fails. It would be such a tragedy if something happened to your son while he was in such a vulnerable state." Rosa felt her world tilt. This man was threatening to hurt Kai. "You're talking about murdering a sick child. I'm talking about business, Mrs. Martinez. Your husband created something worth billions of dollars. I've spent years tracking down his work, and I'm not going to let some sentimental widow stand in my way." That's when Elon Musk walked into the room. "Actually, Vincent, I think you'll find that this sentimental widow has some very powerful friends." Hayes spun around, his face showing surprise for the first time. "Musk, I should have known you'd be lurking around here somewhere." "Vincent Hayes," Elon said calmly, "you're under arrest." "On what charges?" Hayes laughed. "I'm having a private conversation with Mrs. Martinez about a business matter. Conspiracy, corporate espionage, attempted theft of intellectual property, and threatening a child. Should I go on?" Two Austin police officers appeared in the doorway behind Elon, followed by hospital security guards. "You called the police?" Hayes snarled. "Actually, your conversation has been broadcast live to my legal team for the past 10 minutes, Elon said, holding up his phone. "Every threat you made, every admission of guilt, all recorded and admissible in court." Hayes's face went white as he realized he had been trapped. "This isn't over, Musk. You think you can protect this family forever? I have resources you can't imagine." "Actually, Vincent, I think you'll find that my resources are considerably more extensive than yours. Officers, this man just threatened to harm a child. I trust you'll be charging him appropriately." As the police moved to arrest Hayes, one of his bodyguards reached inside his jacket, but Elon's security team was already in position. Two men in dark suits appeared from the hallway, blocking any escape routes. "I wouldn't try anything heroic," Elon advised Hayes's men. "Hospital security cameras have recorded everything, and assault charges carry serious prison time." The arrest took less than 5 minutes, but to Rosa it felt like hours. As the police led Hayes away in handcuffs, he turned back toward the room. "This technology will make someone billions, Musk. If it's not me, it'll be someone else. You can't protect them forever." "Actually," Elon replied, "I can, and I will." After the police left, Rosa collapsed into the chair beside Kai's bed. Her hands were shaking so badly, she could barely hold onto her children. "Mama, are we safe now?" Zara asked. "Yes, baby. We're safe." But Elon could see that Rosa was barely holding herself together. The stress of the confrontation, combined with her own declining health, was taking a serious toll. "Mrs. Martinez, I think it's time we discussed some changes," Elon said gently. "Your family needs protection, and I need to get started on developing your husband's technology. I have a proposition for you." "What kind of proposition?" "Move in with my family. I have a large house with excellent security, and my children would love to have Zara and Kai around. You'd have access to the best medical care in the country, and I could work on Carlos's designs with you as a partner, not just a client." Rosa stared at him. "You want us to live with you? Mrs. Martinez, your husband created something that could change the world. But more importantly, you've raised two of the most remarkable children I've ever met. It would be an honor to have your family as part of mine." Kai, who had been listening quietly, suddenly spoke up. "Mr. Musk, if we live with you, can we help you build Papa's inventions?" Elon smiled at the boy. "Kai, I think your Papa would want his children to be part of making his dreams come true." Rosa looked at her children. Zara trying to be brave, Kai fighting an illness that might take his life, both of them having witnessed things no child should ever see. Then she looked at Elon Musk, a man who had promised to protect her family and had already risked himself to keep that promise. "Mr. Musk," she said finally, "I think Carlos would want his children to grow up in a home where they're safe and loved. If you're serious about this offer—" "I've never been more serious about anything in my life." "Then yes, we'll come home with you." As they made plans to leave the hospital, none of them noticed the small recording device that one of Hayes' men had dropped under Kai's bed during the confrontation. Vincent Hayes might be in jail, but his network of associates was still active, and they had just learned where the Martinez family would be staying. 3 weeks later, Rosa Martinez woke, up in a bedroom larger than her entire old apartment. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she remembered. They were living in Elon Musk's house in Austin, a sprawling modern home with floor-to-ceiling windows and enough space for 2 families to live comfortably. But Rosa wasn't feeling comfortable. She was feeling worse every day. She tried to sit up in bed, but dizziness made her fall back against the pillows. Her hands were shaking again, and she could barely hold a coffee cup without spilling it. The genetic condition was progressing faster than the doctors had predicted. Through her bedroom window, she could see Zara and Kai playing in the backyard with Elon's children. For the first time in months, her twins looked like normal kids, laughing, running, not worried about their sick mother or scary men in suits. But Kai was moving slower than the other children. Even with the best medical care money could buy, his condition was getting worse, too. A soft knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. "Rosa, may I come in?" Elon's voice called from the hallway. "Yes, of course." Elon entered carrying a breakfast tray and wearing an expression that Rosa had learned to recognize. It was his "I have important news" face. "How are you feeling today?" he asked, setting the tray on her bedside table. "Honestly? Terrible." Rosa had stopped pretending she was fine. There was no point in lying to the man who was spending millions of dollars trying to save her son's life. "I have some updates on Carlos's project," Elon said, sitting in the chair beside her bed. "Good news and challenging news. Tell me the good news first. My team has successfully built a prototype of Carlos's battery design. Rosa, your husband, was even more brilliant than we realized. The battery works exactly as his calculations predicted. We can charge an electric car in 8 minutes and drive it for over 1,200 miles. Rosa felt a surge of pride for her late husband. Carlos would be so happy to know his work is helping people. But there's more. We've also made progress on the medical applications. Carlos's designs for portable gene therapy devices are remarkable. We think we can build a system that could potentially treat genetic conditions like yours and Kai's. Rosa sat up straighter, ignoring the dizziness. "You mean there might be a cure?" Elon hesitated. "There might be a treatment." But Rosa, that's the challenging news. The medical device requires a very rare element called rhodium platinum composite. It's extremely expensive and difficult to obtain. Even with all my resources, it could take 2 years to source enough material for even one treatment device. Rosa's heart sank. 2 years? They both knew she didn't have 2 years. Her latest test results showed she had months, not years. And Kai's condition was deteriorating even faster than hers. There has to be another way, Rosa said desperately. Carlos wouldn't have designed something impossible to build. Actually, there might be another option, Elon said carefully. But it's extremely risky, and I'm not sure I should even mention it. Tell me. Carlos's notes mention an alternative approach. Instead of using rhodium platinum, the device could theoretically work with a synthetic compound. But creating that compound would require a massive amount of energy, more electricity than most cities use in a month. So it's impossible? For most people, yes. But I have access to something most people don't. A private nuclear reactor that I've been developing for Mars missions. If we redirected all its power output for one day, we might be able to create enough synthetic compound for 2 treatment devices. Rosa stared at him. You would do that? Risk your Mars project to help my family? Rosa, your husband's technology is going to revolutionize transportation and save millions of lives. More importantly, you and your children have become part of my family. I would do anything to save you and Kai. Before Rosa could respond, Zara burst into the room, her face flushed with excitement and fear. Mama, come quick! Something's wrong with Kai! They rushed outside to find Kai sitting on the ground, unable to stand. His lips were blue, and he was struggling to breathe. Call 911! Elon shouted to his security team while lifting Kai into his arms. Tell them we need a pediatric cardiac unit immediately. The ambulance ride to the hospital was the longest 20 minutes of Rosa's life. Kai drifted in and out of consciousness while paramedics worked to stabilize his heart rhythm. The hospital, Dr. Martinez, no relation despite the shared name, delivered the news they had been dreading. Mrs. Martinez, Kai's condition has progressed to critical stage. His heart muscle is deteriorating rapidly. Without intervention, he has weeks, maybe days. Rosa felt the world spinning around her. What kind of intervention? Realistically, a heart transplant. But finding a donor match for someone with Kai's genetic condition is nearly impossible. And even if we found one, his body might reject it due to his underlying condition. Rosa looked at her son, so small and pale in the hospital bed, and made a decision that terrified her. Mr. Musk, she said quietly, how quickly could you build Carlos's medical device? Rosa, we talked about this. The rare element, no, the other way. The synthetic compound using your nuclear reactor. Elon was quiet for a long moment. If I redirected all my resources, pulled every engineer from every project, worked around the clock, maybe 3 weeks. And the risks? If something goes wrong with the reactor, it could set back space exploration by decades. If the synthetic compound doesn't work, we lose everything and gain nothing. And even if it works perfectly, we'd only have enough material for 2 devices. Rosa looked at Kai, then at Zara, who was holding her brother's hand and trying not to cry. 2 devices, Rosa repeated. 1 for Kai, 1 for me? Rosa, no. Elon realized what she was thinking. We build 1 device and use it for Kai first. Then we figure out how to make more. And if you can't make more? If something happens to the reactor or the technology fails? My son lives, but he watches his mother die. And then he grows up without either parent. Rosa stood up, her decision made. Mr. Musk, I want you to build 1 device and use it to save Kai. Don't waste time or materials trying to save me too. I won't do that. Yes, you will, because I'm not asking you as a friend. I'm asking you as a mother, and you're a father. You know what choice any parent would make. Elon looked at this incredible woman who was willing to sacrifice her own life to save her son, and he made his own decision. Rosa, I'm going to save both of you. I don't care what it costs or how many projects I have to sacrifice. You're both going to live to see Kai grow up. As they sat in the hospital room, making plans that would either save their family or destroy everything Elon had worked for, none of them noticed the small drone outside the window. Hayes Industries might have lost their inside information, but Vincent Hayes's associates had found other ways to monitor the situation, and they were about to make one final desperate attempt to steal Carlos Martinez's life-saving technology. 3 months later, something impossible happened. Rosa Martinez woke up without pain for the first time in over a year. She sat up in bed, actually sat up without dizziness or weakness, and stared at her reflection in the mirror across the room. The pale, sickly woman she had become was gone. Her cheeks had color again, her hands weren't shaking, and she felt stronger than she had since before Kai was born. Down the hall, she could hear her son laughing, actually laughing, not the weak, tired sounds he had been making for months. Rosa rushed to his room and found Kai sitting up in bed, building a tower of blocks with steady hands. "Mama!" Kai jumped up and ran to her. Ran, not walked slowly, while gasping for breath. "Look how tall I can make it." Rosa hugged her son, tears streaming down her face. 3 months ago, doctors had said he had days to live. Now he was running around like any normal 8-year-old. "How do you feel, baby?" she asked. "Great. Like Papa is watching over us and making sure we're okay." Rosa found Zara in the kitchen, helping Elon make breakfast. Her daughter looked up with a smile that hadn't dimmed in weeks. "Mama, Mr. Elon says we can go to the park today. Kai wants to try the big slide." Elon turned from the stove, and Rosa saw something in his eyes she hadn't seen before. Pure joy mixed with relief. "Good morning, Rosa. How are you feeling?" "Like a miracle happened," she said softly. "But I don't understand how." Elon set down his coffee cup and looked at Rosa with an expression of someone who had been keeping the most important secret of his life. "Rosa, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you months ago." Rosa felt her heart skip. "What is it?" 6 months before I ever met you and the twins, my company had been secretly funding research into rare genetic diseases. We were working on experimental treatments that cost millions of dollars per patient. Rosa stared at him. "What kind of treatments?" "Gene therapy using advanced delivery systems, but the treatment was still in trials, and even with all my resources, we could only afford to help a few patients." Zara looked back and forth between them, not understanding the complicated words, but sensing something important was happening. "When I met you and Kai selling your toy car," Elon continued, "I immediately recognized the symptoms of the condition my research team had been studying. I had your medical records reviewed, with your permission, which I got later, and confirmed that you both had Burros-Martinez syndrome. You knew what was wrong with us from the beginning," Rosa whispered. "Yes, but here's the amazing part, Rosa. Carlos's notebook didn't just contain battery designs. Hidden in his technical specifications was the breakthrough my medical team had been searching for." Elon pulled out Carlos's leather notebook and opened it to a page covered with complex diagrams. "Look at this section, Rosa. Carlos wasn't just designing batteries. He was designing a delivery system that could make gene therapy work 1,000 times better and cost 1,000 times less." Rosa looked at her husband's familiar handwriting with new eyes. In the margins, she could see notes she had never noticed before. Targeted cellular delivery, genetic repair protocols, hope for families like ours. Carlos knew Rosa breathed. He knew we would get sick. More than that, Rosa. Carlos solved the final piece of the puzzle that could save not just his own family, but thousands of others around the world. Kai, who had been listening quietly, spoke up in a small voice. You mean Papa's drawings made us better? Yes, sweetheart, Elon said, kneeling down to Kai's level. Your Papa's love for your family reached across time to save your lives. But how? Rosa asked. You said it would take years to build the medical devices. Elon smiled. That's where the toy car sale becomes even more important. Rosa, when I met Zara and Kai that day, they reminded me why I started my companies in the first place. Not to make money or become famous, but to help people and solve impossible problems. I don't understand. I redirected resources from every company I own. Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink. I pulled the best engineers and scientists from all of them and put them on one project, saving your family. Rosa felt her legs go weak. You risked everything for us? Rosa, Carlos's technology didn't just save your lives. It's going to revolutionize medicine and transportation. Electric cars that can drive 200 miles on an 8-minute charge. Gene therapy devices that can cure diseases we thought were incurable. Your husband didn't just leave behind inventions. He left behind hope for millions of people. Zara, who had been trying to follow the grown-up conversation, asked the question that mattered most. So, Mama and Kai are really going to be okay? Yes, sweetheart, Elon said. Your Mama and Kai are going to be just fine. Rosa sank into a chair, overwhelmed by everything she was learning. All this time, I thought we were just lucky that you found us. Rosa, luck had nothing to do with it. Carlos spent his last months on Earth working on a solution to save his family. The toy car sale wasn't random. It was destiny connecting Carlos's research with the resources needed to make it real. Kai climbed into Rosa's lap, something he hadn't been strong enough to do in months. Mama, does this mean Papa is still taking care of us? Rosa held her son close, thinking about her husband's words on their wedding day. I promise to love you and protect you, no matter what happens, for as long as I live and beyond. Yes, baby, she whispered. Papa never stopped taking care of us. But Rosa, Elon said, the miracle doesn't stop with your family. The Carlos Martinez Medical Foundation has now helped 847 families around the world get treatment for rare genetic diseases. Carlos's battery technology has created thousands of jobs and made electric cars affordable for millions of people. Rosa looked around the kitchen where her children were healthy and happy, where breakfast was cooking on the stove, where the future looked bright instead of terrifying. Mr. Elon, she said, I don't know how to thank you for giving us our lives back. You don't need to thank me, Rosa. You taught me something more valuable than any technology. You showed me that love doesn't end when someone dies. It transforms into new ways of helping others. On the refrigerator, held up by a small magnet, was a drawing Kai had made the week before. It showed a family of stick figures standing under a rainbow, with an angel watching over them from the clouds. At the bottom, in his careful 8-year-old handwriting, he had written, Papa's love keeps us safe. As Rosa looked at that drawing, she realized that Kai had understood the miracle better than any of the adults. Carlos's love hadn't ended with his death. It had grown into something bigger and more powerful than she could have ever imagined. The toy car sale had been just the beginning. 2 children willing to sacrifice their most precious possession had connected their father's hidden genius with the resources to make miracles happen. And now, those miracles were spreading around the world. one family at a time. 1 year later, Rosa Martinez stood on the stage of the Austin Convention Center, looking out at an audience of 2,000 people. She wore a beautiful blue dress and a smile that hadn't faded in months. Beside her stood Zara and Kai, now 9 years old and glowing with health. "Ladies and gentlemen," Rosa said into the microphone, "I want to tell you about the day my children tried to sell a toy car to save my life." The audience listened in complete silence as Rosa told their story. The diagnosis, the fear, the impossible choice between taking Hayes's money or trusting a stranger. She talked about Carlos's hidden notebooks and Elon's promise to finish what her husband had started. "Today," Rosa continued, "the Carlos Martinez Foundation celebrates helping its 1,000th family. That's 1,000 children who won't lose their parents to genetic diseases. That's 1,000 families who have hope instead of fear." The audience erupted in applause. In the front row, Elon Musk watched with tears in his eyes. Next to him sat his own children, who had become like brothers and sisters to Zara and Kai over the past year. After the ceremony, the Martinez family walked through downtown Austin toward the small street where everything had begun. Rosa now worked as the director of the Carlos Martinez Foundation, helping other families navigate the same impossible choices she had once faced. Zara had started a program at school called Kids Helping Kids, where children raised money for families dealing with serious illnesses. And Kai had become the foundation's youngest spokesperson, traveling to conferences to tell other sick children that miracles were possible. "Look," Kai said, pointing down the familiar street. "There's our old apartment building." The building looked smaller than Rosa remembered. A new family lived in apartment 2B now, a young mother with twin daughters, who reminded Rosa of herself just 2 years ago. "Do you miss living there?" Zara asked. Rosa thought about the question carefully. "I miss the person I was when we lived there, the person who believed that love was enough to solve any problem. I was right about that, but I didn't understand how big love could grow." They walked to the exact spot on the sidewalk where Zara and Kai had set up their toy car sale. Someone had placed a small bronze plaque in the concrete. "On this spot, 2 children's love changed the world." "That's embarrassing," Zara said, but she was smiling. "No, mija," Rosa replied. "It's true." Elon joined them on the sidewalk, carrying a familiar red remote-controlled Tesla. It was the same toy car Carlos had given the twins for their 6th birthday, now carefully restored and displayed in a place of honor in their new home. "I brought a friend," Elon said, handing the car to Kai. Kai held the toy car carefully, running his fingers over the small scratches that told the story of countless adventures. "Mr. Elon, do you think Papa knows what happened?" "I think your Papa has known all along," Elon replied. "I think everything that happened was part of his plan to take care of you." A young girl walking with her mother stopped to look at the bronze plaque. She was about 7 years old, thin and pale, in a way that Rosa recognized immediately. "Mama," the girl asked, "what does that sign mean?" The mother, who looked tired and worried, read the plaque aloud. "I don't know, sweetheart. Just some story about children, I guess." Rosa approached the mother gently. "Excuse me, I'm Rosa Martinez. I couldn't help but notice. Is your daughter okay?" The mother's eyes filled with tears. "She has a rare genetic condition. The doctors say there's no treatment, but I keep hoping." Rosa smiled and took the woman's hand. "There's something I'd like to tell you about hope, and about a foundation that might be able to help your family." As Rosa talked to the mother, explaining about the Carlos Martinez Foundation and the treatments that were now available, Kai walked over to the little girl. "Hi," he said. "I'm Kai. What's your name?" "Sophie," the girl replied shyly. "Sophie, do you want to know a secret?" Kai asked, kneeling down to her level. Sophie nodded. "Sometimes grown-ups think there's no way to fix something, but they're wrong. My papa found a way to help kids like us, even after he went to heaven. And now, there are lots of people working to make sure kids like you get better." Sophie looked at this healthy, happy boy who somehow understood exactly what she was going through. "Really? Really? And you know what? I think you're going to be just fine." 20 minutes later, Rosa had given Sophie's mother all the information she needed to contact the foundation. Another family had found hope on the same sidewalk where the Martinez family's miracle had begun. As they walked home, Elon asked Rosa the question he'd been thinking about for months. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if Zara and Kai had decided not to sell the toy car that day?" Rosa considered this. "I think Carlos would have found another way to connect his work with someone who could finish it. Love always finds a way. But what if I hadn't been walking down that street at exactly the right time?" Zara looked up at Elon with the wisdom of a 9-year-old who had seen miracles happen. "Mr. Elon, you were walking down that street because you were supposed to be. Just like Papa left his notebooks for us to find. And just like Kai got sick so we would discover the cure. Everything happened exactly when it needed to happen." That evening, as the family gathered for dinner in their beautiful home, Rosa opened the old notebook where she used to write her fears and worries. On the last page, she wrote, "Carlos, mi amor, you kept your promise. You found a way to protect our children and help thousands of others. Your love didn't end when you died. It grew into something bigger and more beautiful than I ever imagined. Zara and Kai will grow up knowing that love is the most powerful force in the universe, and that miracles happen when we're brave enough to hope." Outside their window, the lights of Austin twinkled like stars. Somewhere in the city, a family was reading information about the Carlos Martinez Foundation for the first time. Somewhere else, a child was receiving treatment that would save their life. And in research labs around the world, scientists were working on new applications for Carlos's technology that would help even more people. The toy car sat on the mantel above the fireplace, a reminder that the smallest acts of love can change everything. Next to it was a framed photo of Carlos Martinez, smiling as he watched over the family he had found a way to save. "Papa," Kai whispered to the photograph before bed each night, "thank you for taking care of us." And in the quiet house where a miracle family slept peacefully, love continued to grow and spread, touching new lives every day, proving that some promises really do last forever. The next morning, a letter arrived at the Carlos Martinez Foundation. It was from a young girl in Tokyo, whose rare genetic condition had been cured using Carlos's technology. The letter was written in careful English. "Dear Martinez family, my name is Yuki. I am 8 years old. Your papa's inventions made me healthy. My mama says I should thank you for sharing your papa's love with the world. I want you to know that in Tokyo, there is a little girl who is alive, because your family was brave. Thank you for teaching us that love never dies. It just finds new ways to help people. Love, Yuki." Rosa read the letter to her children over breakfast, and they all understood that their story was really just the beginning of something much bigger than they had ever imagined. Rosa, Zara, and Kai Martinez learned that love never really dies. It just finds new ways to help people. Their father's love reached across time to save his family and thousands of others around the world. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest miracles. Just like Zara and Kai selling their toy car, or Elon stopping to help two children on a sidewalk, we want to know, where are you listening from today? Tell us in the comments below. Are you in Texas like the Martinez family? Maybe somewhere across the world like little Yuki in Tokyo? We love hearing from our amazing listeners everywhere. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that miracles happen when we choose love over fear, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. When you subscribe, you're helping us spread more stories of kindness and hope to families who need to hear them. And speaking of hope, there's another incredible true story waiting for you right now. Click on the video appearing on your screen to discover how one person's courage changed everything. Trust us, you won't want to miss it. Remember, love shared becomes infinite. Thank you for being part of our story family.